What's up, guys? Here with you, FC Wonderkid, episode 134. Here with my guy, Breton. How are you?
I'm doing well, Alex. Even at the early start of the day here, because we're filming early. So if I look half asleep, that's it's not my fault. But I am heading away on work, so we have to film early, which I know we're going to miss the Premier League weekend, but that does not mean we don't have so much to talk about here. We're going to do the Premier League best 11 so far this season. We're going to do top 3 players in the top 7 leagues. We're going to talk about the U17 World Cup, the Brasileirão, which I think you've been causing quite a little bit of stir about,
With
Alex. Oh yeah. But so I'm excited to hear more about that, and then of course, in the future we will react to all the things that have happened in this weekend. But I think we have enough material here that we can definitely delve in, get started, and I'm excited, man. How are you doing?
I'm doing really well, and you said it. We're filming earlier, and that's why we'll be posting this on a Sunday afternoon, people, okay? It's coming out earlier. Listening to episode 134, everything's all right, and some bold topics are going to be in this podcast, just like Breton said. Champions League happened this week, and just an update here. The favorites to win the Champions Leagues for the bookies right now, number 1 is Man City, number 2 Bayern Munich, number 3 Real Madrid, 4 Arsenal, 5 PSG. So Arsenal is considered more of a favorite than PSG, than Barcelona, than Napoli, than Dortmund, than Inter, and then Atletico de Madrid. I think Inter, more and more, are dark horses and underdogs because I believe they could beat a team like Arsenal. But let us know down below, what topics would you like to see in future podcasts? Because yes, a lot of opinions are going to go in this one, and we're going to be talking the best 11 in the Premier League so far, Breton. I am dying to know your choices, but before we say ours, comment down below yours and like this video for more topics just like this. But I think in goal we're both gonna have the same, aren't we, Breton?
I think so.
Onana?
Who do you? No.
I'm joking. But he does have 5 clean sheets. He does have 5 clean sheets.
Of course he does. And y'all were saying that about De Gea last year too. And we saw what happened to him. No, I mean Andre Onana has had some very, very good games. He's also made some mistakes, as he did with Inter, but I think it was papered over by the fact that, Champions League final. So I think we probably are unanimous on this. I think it's the most consistent, even though he has made 1 or 2 weird mistakes this year in terms of distribution. Allison, I think, is the most consistent for me. So Allison is my goalkeeper of choice in the Premier League 11 so far in December.
Erik Ten Hag said to the world, Onana is the second best statistically in goals prevented in the Premier League. And it's right, because the first, obviously, is Alisson, the best goalkeeper in the Premier League and the starter of the Brazilian national team against Ederson. Alisson has 4 clean sheets until now in the Premier League, and he's played 245 games for Liverpool. He's one of the captains next to Trent and next to Virgil van Dijk. Key player that changed the course of Liverpool's history in the Premier League with Klopp.
For sure, but I do think an honorable mention needs to be thrown out here for Guglielmo Vicario, because up until these last 3 losses, until the injuries started coming in, flooding in of key, important players, Vicario, I think, has surprised both of us. With him coming in.
I'd maybe put Martinez in front of Vicario, though, Breton. Or Pope.
Would you?
I put Martinez. Martinez is world class.
But Pope early on this season was pretty rough, but he has rounded into form for Newcastle as of late, as they go through a ridiculous injury thing. But Vicario, I think, with Van de Ven in front of him, now injured, with Cuti Romero, that Spurs defense for the beginning half of the season, or the beginning games up until the last 3, Vicario definitely deserves more of a shout. So I got him kind of a second/third here, but Allison was pretty far front for me. I don't really see a contender at this moment.
I'd say Martinez. For me, the top 2 goalkeepers in the Premier League, maybe. Top 3, you have to put Alisson, Ederson, and Emiliano Martinez maybe. And David
Fair
Raya
enough.
in that conversation maybe because he did cost a lot and he's ahead of Ramsdale, which would start for many other teams in the Premier League. But you mentioned Cuti
And-
Romero. We won't have
Yeah.
Cuti Romero in our best Premier League 11, but
probably
we
not.
do understand that Cuti Romero is maybe a top 10 center back in the world. He's won a World Cup and he's vital for Argentina and a big blow for Tottenham. But the Premier League, I'm going to say this. The best center backs in the world right now are in the Premier League and Barcelona. Ronaldo Araújo and Conde, for me, are the only ones that can match players like Van Dijk, Ruben Dias, and Saliba. And Bastoni. I won't forget Bastoni too. So those, for me, are the best in the world. But I want to know, Bretson, who is in your best defense in the Premier League so far?
Well, I am not going to betray my eyes. I am going to put William Saliba for Arsenal in there. And I am going to have next to him, I am also not going to betray my eyes. And no, I am not here to say that he is back to his peak form, but he has been an incredibly smart player for Liverpool this year. I'm going to say Virgil van Dijk is pretty dang close to back to full Virgil van Dijk form. And I'm going to say it's Van Dijk and Saliba as the top center back pairing so far this season in the Premier League.
Virgil van Dijk has been amazing. The captain is back, but I put Ruben Dias ahead of Virgil van Dijk, and I would start William Saliba and Ruben Dias. Virgil van Dijk has been the best out of the three. If we were to compare and do a start bench cell with Virgil van Dijk, Saliba, and Ruben Dias currently, Van Dijk was the one that had the biggest peak. But currently, I'd go Ruben Dias, the most consistent of all. I would start. I would bench Saliba, and unfortunately, I would have to sell Virgil van Dijk. Not for what he was, but for what he is right now. Ruben. I gotta go Ruben Dias. You're stubbing Ruben, mate. And William Saliba. William Saliba has 40 Premier League games, 30 wins, and only 4 losses. He's been so impactful. And without Saliba, the Arsenal defense isn't the same. Just like without Ruben Dias, the Man City defense isn't the same. And Liverpool need more options. They rely way too much on a good Virgil van Dijk. A good form Virgil van Dijk.
Well, that is true. But Ruben Dias has you mentioned he's consistent, right? He obviously is consistent. And even when he's not, say, 100% or his best, he's still one of the best, if not the best, in the Premier League. But I just think Virgil van Dijk has been cleaner than him so far this season. If we're going to go full season here, one of these likely will get kicked out, assuming Ruben Dias stays healthy and, is a monster as he has always been for Manchester City. But I think early on this season, he's actually shown to be relatively error-prone, right?
He's had some mistakes, true. It's true.
Yeah, more often than what I'm used to seeing. Virgil van Dijk, I know there's that fun little stat. He hasn't been dribbled by and all that good stuff. But Virgil van Dijk has been incredibly clean this season. And when he's not clean, I just think he's back to his, intelligent best in front of Alisson there. And I don't think Liverpool's defense gets enough credit so far, considering, at times they haven't had Alexander-Arnold. At other times they haven't had a full Robertson. They've had injuries at center back. So I'm just impressed with that. They do need more depth. But I think if we're going to go to the end of the season here, it's very likely Ruben Dias for me will wind up being one of these two, unless, of course, Manchester City starts to fall by the wayside, which I don't expect.
It's so scary, mate, that William Saliba is 22. We're talking about Ruben Dias and Virgil van Dijk comparing to him, and his prime is coming. And to be fair, for France, we do need to see a better William Saliba because we do see a strong Ruben Dias for Portugal and a captain with Virgil van Dijk for the Netherlands. So William Saliba, go bolder for France in the Euros. And Arsenal, you're the best defender.
And I got two other shout outs for center back here. They're not going to make it on here, but Ethan Pinnock for Brentford definitely deserves a shout. Okay, he's been in the league quite a while, but he's been that kind of something like he's just been a clearance machine for them. I think he's already got the most clearances in a game, and he is one of the central reasons why Brentford are where they are. And frankly, they should be a lot higher. They only have they have a Manchester United issue. They have no Ivan Toney. They got no striker, so they're not scoring goals, even though their defense is doing what they need to do to win games. So Ethan Pinnock gets a shout out from me. And then the other one is Mickey van de Ven. It's so tough to see him go down with that injury because heading into this, he was everyone's favorite to talk about. I don't know if he would have been able to do it for a whole season, but he showed right away he was worth the money. And he has a whole lot more to offer than what he was offering in the Bundesliga. And he was getting ready to gear that up before that hammy went on him. So they deserve shout-outs. But, yeah, Van Dijk and Saliba are my two CBs.
Definitely. And if Romero's back, he would be the best center back at Tottenham. Okay, people at home. But
Yeah.
Mickey van de Ven is playing good football right now, which 50 million cost a lot from Wolfsburg. And he is delivering right now. So the best defense in the Premier League so far for me, it's Alisson in goal. I would put Joško Gvardiol at left back. I love that new role that Pep Guardiola has him in. And I would put my two center backs, William Saliba, only 4 losses at Arsenal ever, and Ruben Dias, the most consistent center back from last season to this one. And then at right back, I would go with Kieran Trippier, the leader of Newcastle and the man that makes everything gel and that team. Do not sleep on Trippier. That yes, I'm putting him ahead of Reece James. I'm putting him ahead of Trent Alexander-Arnold. Yes, Trippier has that importance in my view. So that's my
Fair enough. So Gvardiol at left back. That's interesting. I mean, he's been what's the word? Unbothered, I guess. It's been seamless, but at the same time, it hasn't exactly been like elite. And then again, I'm going to state my left back, and my left back has definitely not been elite, but he has been one of the most exciting left backs, and he's young, and in the Premier League so far. So that's why he's on there. But my defense with Alisson in goal for Premier League 11 so far this season as we enter into December 2023. Can't believe that. In front of goalkeeper Alisson, we've got my left back is Destiny Udogie for Spurs. And if it weren't for that red card, right, relatively recently, I would have probably had him in here with 90% certainty. Okay, just because of the way he has transitioned into that Spurs team. Obviously, they're entering into uncharted territory moving forward with the injuries. So it's going to be really interesting to see how Udogie on the left, Porro on the right, and Kuti and his new partner does in defense there. But I think Udogie deserves it moving forward, or so far, not moving forward. And then I've got Van Dijk and I've got Saliba, as talked about previously, at center back. And then my right back is also Kieran Trippier. And just like Ruben Diaz, right? I'm not comparing Trippier and Diaz, but just like Ruben Diaz, I don't think Trippier has been, amazing this season. He had a run of form that was actually pretty questionable. But even after that, he is still the best right back in the league right now. And you can't argue with his contributions in the attack, in defense, and Newcastle's doing just fine managing 2 campaigns for the first time in 20 years.
So
right?
your best Premier League defense until now has Alisson, Destiny Udogie, Van Dijk, Saliba, and Trippier at right back.
Yeah.
So no Man City player.
No Udogie for you?
No Man City player that has the best defense in the world right now.
Yeah, I would have put, if I were to put anyone in there, it would have been Kyle Walker. Right now. Yeah, I mean Saliba or Van Dijk right now. I don't think Ruben Diaz. I do think over a large season, this is the issue, is we're going to get it picked apart because we're talking about up to December. Best in form up to December. We are not talking about the full season. We are not talking about Ruben Diaz's last season or the season before that and how damn good he's been, right? We are talking about August.
Yeah, I get you,
December.
Bretson. You're repeating yourself. It's all good, mate. The defense has been done. And now let's go with the midfield. The midfield will have big snubs too, which I think James Ward-Prowse will be one of them. But let us know down below who are your best midfielders in the Premier League so far. My best midfield in the Premier League so far has Rodri at CDM. I have Declan Rice in midfield, and I have Bernard Silva. I'm snubbing James Maddison, but the importance that Bernard Silva has for Man City is undisputed. 3 goals, 3 assists, but the engine, the way they play, That's why they tick. So it's Rodri, Declan Rice, and Bernardo Silva, my midfield.
Yeah, you know what's really interesting to me about Rodri is I almost wanted to punish him for the fact that Manchester City plays so bad without him, I should say,
Right.
when he got ejected and he was suspended for multiple games. Right, I really, really wanted to hurt him for that in that instance, but I think Rodri obviously is probably the best 6 in the world, and he is insanely what it showed to me, right, Rodri. It showed to me how important he was to obviously such a world-class team, Manchester City. Manchester City's not playing their best football yet, right? So that's why I'm quote-unquote sort of snubbing Manchester City players right now, but Rodri I had to have in here. Believe it or not, I am snubbing Declan Rice at this moment for Douglas Luiz. I think Douglas Luiz has done it all. Yes, penalties, but goal involvements. He's done it on set pieces. He's the heartbeat of that Aston Villa team. Unai Emery trusts him and thinks he can take it and even another step higher. I feel like Douglas Luiz up until now, where Villa is one of the only surprises, right, in the top 4, top 5 right now. I really think that Douglas Luiz deserves to be here. Slightly eking out, say, a Declan Rice or a James Ward-Prowse at this moment. That's not to say I don't think Declan Rice will be here, later on this season. I had to put James Maddison in mainly because, Alex, he's probably not going to be here at the end of the season, right? Up until December, he was the best signing, James Maddison. He was, absolutely talismanic for them in terms of architecting an offense that did not have a true 9 up top, right? And you got to give him credit for that. And Madison gone, Van de Ven gone. All these injuries we've started to see the cracks show in Big Ange's side. But James Maddison deserves to be here for me. And the only other person I'd probably throw in here who I think will be here at the end of the season is Szoboszlai. Yeah, I think he'll be here at the end of the season. But right now, my midfield is Rodri, Manchester City, Douglas Luiz, Aston Villa, and James Maddison, Spurs. And it was, Declan Rice has been great.
You must have Declan Rice because he's the most important player for Arsenal, and Arsenal are top of the league. Right now, Declan Rice, in the last 13 games for Arsenal, he's got, in the Premier League, 5 Man of the Match awards. He makes the Arsenal team tick, and that's why I believe Declan Rice must start in this team. And you mentioned too Szoboszlai. Szoboszlai is the hero of Hungary at 23. He's the captain, and he's played 38 games internationally for his national team. I'm not saying he's Puskás already, but Hungary are going bold right now with 0 defeats in the Euro qualification and going to the Euros very positively because of Szoboszlai. 10 goals and 5 assists for Hungary in his career too. Unreal.
Love it. But to defend my Douglas Luiz pick, as I'm looking at Rodri versus Declan Rice. That's kind of what I was looking at there, right? So Rodri right now, I mean, you could make that argument and kick Rodri to the side, but I look at it as kind of a 6'8" type of thing. And Douglas Luiz, for me, actually, you're kind of staring at what I think could be internally a perfect Arsenal midfield moving forward.
Yes,
you've got Declan Rice, Douglas Luiz. Now, whether or not Villa's not going to let him go for chump change. So whether or not they're ready to play ball to bring in what I think would be a perfect complement to Declan Rice in midfield at Arsenal, that'll be interesting. But
and Villa
Douglas Luiz was my
big bucks. They deserve the big bucks for Douglas Luiz.
They do deserve the big
bucks. Great scouting to get him. And they got an extension when Arsenal wanted him in last transfer window in the summer. But just because we're mentioning Rice, I have a start bench cell that I would like to know your answer here. And it's not Premier League, but it's got Declan Rice there. Okay? It is a start bench cell with Fede Valverde, Frankie de Jong, and Declan Rice. How would you rank Declan Rice against these two players?
Current form?
Or
peak form?
Current form.
Oh, my. All right. Oh, gosh. Valverde's been phenomenal.
I would start Valverde.
He really has. I would, too. I think I would, too. I almost had a tough time doing it. I actually would start Fede Valverde. I would bench Declan Rice, and I would sell Frankie de Jong.
I love you, Bretson. You're going bold, mate. You're going bold. I would still bench maybe Frankie De Jong on Declan Rice.
Really?
But still, let's see in the Euros if Declan Rice is the hero of England and England wins the Euros. If that happens, everything changes. Next to Jude Bellingham, I'd start Fede Valverde, bench Frankie De Jong, and sell Declan Rice. But it's a debate. It is a debate right there.
It is.
But let us know your midfield of the Premier League in the comment section down below. Until now, and yes, who are we snubbing to? We mentioned James Ward-Prowse. That is a big snub. Even Pascal Grob. Pascal Grob, the Zerbi had big words for Pascal Grob, saying he's one of the best players he's ever worked with. Underrated, and that's why he's selected for Germany. Pascal Grob, okay? Remember the name.
At 32, right? 32, I think. Just great, absolute great story. I remember when Brighton came up. I mean, he's played quite a few positions for them. He's a Swiss Army knife and somebody that De Zerbi, and even before him, Potter could depend upon. And it's awesome to see him get his just desserts. But all right, on to the attack, right, sir? Because there's got to be some changes here, maybe.
Yes, I think the attack, we're going to have a bit of a debate here and there because there's not an easy decision to be made. My best attack, my front trio of the Premier League until now, I've got Heung-min Son at left wing, I got Erling Haaland at striker, and I've got Mo Salah at right wing. Yes, I know Saka has been unreal, but Mo Salah has 10 goals and 5 assists, and if Salah wasn't there for the Liverpool team, they would be struggling to be in the position that they are right now. Salah elevates the team and makes them Premier League contenders. So that's why I put him at ahead of Bukayo Saka. And I said Declan Rice is my most important player of Arsenal. That's why. Yeah,
well, you at least have 2 Arsenal players, right? You got 2 Arsenal players in this 11. I've got only 1. Wow. Yeah, I maybe we are snubbing them, but you know what? That's a testament to how they've played collectively as a team. I think so. But anyway, my attack, again, just like James Maddison before him, Pedro Neto has been out. He's missed 3 games so far. But guess what? Pedro Neto still leads the Premier League in assists. He still leads the Premier League in assists. So I think the fact that he's been doing it, he was tearing apart defenses for Wolves, right? None of these big 6 teams, okay? The fact that he was doing that means he deserves to be here, okay? Now, I do believe that Jeremy Doku by the end of the season will likely be there because he is the most explosive winger that the Premier League currently has, and I think most Premier League defenses are scared as hell to go up against Jeremy Doku. So by the end of the season, he'll probably be there. But Pedro Neto, come back healthy. Show us you can pick up right where you left off. But right now, up until December, Pedro Neto deserves it for me, just by the way he had been playing. Now, that snubs Son, right? It does.
Son with 8 goals and 1 assist.
Right, but I looked at him kind of as their 9, right? Because he's been playing up there,
I cheated a bit, yes, and putting him at left wing.
Yeah, you did. But, Erling Haaland has to be there.
Exactly.
But I really do feel Ollie Watkins deserves a shout for what he's been doing. Assisting, goal scorer, big part of Unai Emery's counterattack. Love it. But anyway, left wing, Pedro Neto. Striker, Erling Haaland. Not that surprising. Dude's still scoring goals left and right. And right wing, I'm right there with you. Mo Salah is too important for Liverpool. Absolutely too important for Liverpool. Bukayo Saka is phenomenal for Arsenal, but if you're going to put the two of them together right now up until December, I got to put Mo Salah with the amount of goals he's got and the amount of assists.
No Rashford.
Where Liverpool is.
No Rashford, and deservedly. Rashford doesn't deserve to be in this Premier League best 11. But if we see last season, Rashford was in a form of his life. So he better pick up his form. But you mentioned some names, and because we're doing a bit of start bench sells here, you mentioned Doku, you mentioned Pedro Neto. There's a bit of rising wingers happening in the Premier League right now. How would you rank a start bench sell with these rising wingers of Jeremy Doku, Pedro Neto, and Alejandro Garnacho too that scored the Puskás goal? How would you rank these 3? It's a very difficult call, but until now, I'm going to say my first. I would start Jeremy Doku right now. I would
Yes.
bench Garnacho maybe, and unfortunately, I know Pedro Neto is top in assists in the Premier League, but the talent of Doku and Garnacho for me exceeds what Pedro Neto can do. So I'd have to unfortunately sell Pedro Neto.
Well, I mean, we are conveniently forgetting Doku has been injured in the past.
True. It's true.
But and we haven't yet seen Garnacho injured, so hopefully that doesn't happen. But I'm gonna say it. I would sell Garnacho. I would. I mean, I get that he's got.
So you would start who? Doku?
I think Pedro Neto is a much smarter player. I think he's still relatively young. He's obviously he's ancient compared to Alejandro Garnacho, but he has this experience about him that I think would slot perfectly into a top 6 team if you can keep him healthy, right? Mm-hmm. And that's the big if. But if I'm going to take him at peak right now, I'm going to start Jeremy Doku just because he offers something that very few teams can get right now. And he's only going to get better as long as he stays healthy. 2, I would bench Pedro Neto, and I would sell Alejandro Garnacho because, yes, he has scored ridiculous, amazing goals, right? Amazing goals. But it's whether or not he can do it with consistency, whether or not he can actually fold into or lead a team. So it's one thing to have a Puskas candidate. It's another thing to, I don't know.
To be the top assister in the Premier League.
To actually be your idol, right?
Exactly.
And go to that. So he's getting there. I'm sure that will change in the future, but I got to put Pedro Neto on the bench for that one and sell Garnacho.
And we don't have Jared Bowen. Yeah. We don't have Anthony Gordon. No. We've snubbed a couple of other players too. But you mentioned Ollie Watkins. And Ollie Watkins, if I'm not starting Erling Haaland in the best Premier League 11 so far, I would be putting Ollie Watkins instead if it wasn't for Erling Haaland. I want to pose you the question of start bench sell with a Ollie Watkins, a Callum Wilson, and an Ivan Toney in this. All English, all strikers, and all in the Premier League. I would start Ollie Watkins for the form he's in with Unai Emery. Okay. I would bench Callum Wilson, and I would have to sell Ivan Toney. I don't see him play now that he's banned. And I see Brentford putting 100 million price tag on Toney. Please, Arsenal, don't pay that money. He's maximum of 50 to 60 million, and that is a lot. That is a lot.
It is.
He doesn't even start for his national team, and we're asking 100 million. The world nowadays. Oh my days.
I know Ollie Watkins was considered a big amount of money when he was bought. I mean, he was more of like a championship striker. It's kind of the same come-up story like Ivan Toney, right? But Ollie Watkins, up until, I guess this season? I mean, even last season, people were ruining all of his missed chances. They were annoyed, with inconsistencies. And for some reason, we've all forgotten that because Ollie Watkins is very much kind of like the focal point, the fulcrum of that attacking style that Unai Emery has. So, yeah, it's pretty crazy how it comes and goes. But Ivan Toney not playing right now, I think that kind of kills him. So, yeah, I'd start Ollie Watkins. Oh man, I already forgot. Who was the third one?
Callum Wilson.
Callum Wilson.
He's always forgotten, but he still performs. Look at Newcastle.
He does still perform. Okay, I'm still gonna go Ollie Watkins start. I'm gonna go Ivan Toney bench. I'm gonna add because you got to remember. Well, Callum Wilson takes PKs too.
Yeah, man. Callum Wilson. No, Isaac. No problem. Callum Wilson exists.
I'm just not sure how much value we would get in selling Callum Wilson because he's the oldest of the bunch, if I'm not mistaken.
If it were to sell value, completely, Bretson, and the contract too. But I'm just going with who I would start in my team.
I'm with you. I think Ivan Toney is. I don't think Arsenal should be spending that amount of money on him, but I do believe we are forgetting how good he had been for Brentford. And we are seeing right now in Brentford's impotence in front of goal, they've got Brian Mbeumo, who I believe is the only one that's able to score. Ivan Toney is Brentford. So it's just a matter of if he can take that step up. And I do think he's good enough. It's just he's got to be playing and stop betting and all that good stuff.
And I did snub Phil Foden, Saka, and Trent. But the future of England is in safe hands right now. Trent literally has 100 goal involvements in 312 games. And he's 25 years old, and he's the vice captain of his boyhood team, Liverpool. And then you have Saka, that in 2023 had 53 games, 19 goals, 17 assists. This is why England are one of the contenders to win the Euros, and they have the best league in the world, which does help developing players like this to have an impact in the national level.
It's just you're taking out Salah. You know?
Exactly.
Bukayo Saka.
Exactly.
That's it.
The best
That's really
African
all it
player
comes
in the
down to.
Premier League, Mo Salah. He's getting to that point. The top goal scorer ever of Liverpool. Mo Salah is disrespected for the consistency he's been having non-stop. He should be in the top 5 of the Ballon d'Or more reoccurrently, or in the past. It should have happened more.
One other thing before we move on here, Pedro Porro, I believe, Kieran Trippier has obviously been phenomenal for Newcastle, but I don't think Pedro Porro has gotten enough credit for how he's kind of settled in at Spurs after that crazy topsy-turvy, like boom-bust type of entry to Tottenham life. So it's been great to see him kind of settle in. I think he's a dark horse to be one of the better RBs, right backs in the league by the end of the season. Again, you're up against Trippier, who even at his worst has still been pretty dang good for Newcastle. But I think Pedro Porro deserves a shout. I mean, we didn't even mention Julian Alvarez, who does a lot of the cleanup work for Manchester City. Trying to think, is there anyone else that we're missing?
But there should be someone else, but help us, you spectators at home, okay? Comment down below, who did we miss in the Premier League best 11 so far? Because yes, there's a lot of talent in the best league in the world. But now, an interesting topic, we mentioned it in the intro. You guys deserve to know, and we have to say it. The best players in the top 7 European leagues, and we have an under-23 list, an under-21 list, and an under-19 list that we can say quick, so you guys know, because it's value information. Because there's a lot of talent now going up in value. So going with Premier League first, I think the best player in the Premier League so far until now, I'm going to go with Mo Salah. I think number 2, Erling Haaland. And I'm going to say number 3, Declan Rice, for the importance he has for Arsenal. 5 man of the match in their last 13 games. And he he makes the tick. He makes Arsenal tick.
No Rodri.
Saka. And no Rodri, yes. No Saka and no Rodri.
Damn. Oh my gosh. Okay. I've got
ruthless.
I really rate that is pretty ruthless. I rate Rodri as the top defensive midfielder on the planet, in consistency. And I think he is so important to Manchester City. I mean, Manchester City will continue to score goals without Erling Haaland. I want to be careful what I'm saying here, right? I have number 1, Rodri.
Best player in the Premier League.
Best player in the Premier League. He's that important to Manchester City. Erling Haaland, number 2. Mo Salah is number 3 for me. Declan Rice, Bukayo Saka, 4-5. Close, right?
You're going bold, Breton. You are going bold, Breton.
Yes.
Give the Ballon d'Or to Rodri. Give the Ballon d'Or to Rodri. But it's fair. He can play center back too, like we saw for Spain. He's very adaptable.
He's huge for them.
It's true.
He's huge for them. I think maybe it's I rewatch a lot of the games when Manchester City loses, and one of the common themes is Rodri's not there. He's not playing well. So,
but under 23, Breton, I'm gonna say the best under 23 in the Premier League, top 3, the top 3 under 23 players in the Premier League. In my view, I have Bukayo Saka first. He's been tremendously important for this team. I'll go Joško Gvardiol second, one of the best defenders in the world right now. And I would say 3, Saliba. No, sorry. I would go Bukayo Saka first, 2, Saliba, and 3, Joško Gvardiol. I'm so sorry. And if I were to have a number 4, I would have Dominic Szoboszlai, because he's been tremendously important for Liverpool and for Hungary. I'm sorry, people. I'm sorry if I scared you for a bit, but I put Saka and William Saliba 1 and 2 in the top under 23.
I think we just lost 1,000 subscribers just from that little hiccup there. No, just kidding. Okay, well, I did not do under 23. I don't necessarily have an issue with it. I think Saka obviously is so humongous for Arsenal. I think he's also in danger of maybe like being called upon too much. Right? I mean, I feel like he does so much for Arsenal.
He's the
At
best
some point,
finisher,
there's going to be some sort of
unfortunately.
burnout.
Arsenal's problem is that Bukayo Saka is the best finisher in their front trio. And he's the right winger.
Yep.
That can't be the case.
Yep.
They must get a striker. But who's your top
Yeah,
under 21s?
Okay, my top. You're right. We got to keep moving. Top under 21s, Premier League top under 21s. I got to go number 1, Jeremy Doku right now. Number 2 for me has been possibly the only plus silver lining of a Chelsea weird season. It's got to be Cole Palmer. And number 3, I think his importance goes a little bit understated. But early on, he was getting some love. He is not getting it anymore because of the injuries. But Pape Matar Sarr for Spurs,
But you're going to
I think deserves
Livramento.
to be in there. Well, I love what's happening there. The Trippier and Livramento, and you've got Hall, and they're all learning from each other. I love what's going on at Newcastle. But no, Doku has been already so important for City. I repeat, Jeremy Doku has already been so important for Manchester City. Okay, that is huge, and for how old he is, that's impressive. Cole Palmer has been everybody's favorite person to watch for Chelsea so far this season. I mean, and even the passerby can notice how direct and how good Cole Palmer has been. And Pape Matar Sarr, just because, come on, he went from being kind of a cast-off, gone back on loan, to winning a place in Big Ange's new setup next to Basuma. And I know that that's been messed up with some injuries these days, but Matar Sarr deserves a whole lot of credit. You know, Jared Branthwaite for Everton, Destiny Udogie,
Kobe Maino at the end of the season. Udogie, yes, but Kobe Maino could be one of the top teenagers in the Premier League by the end of the season. If he solidifies himself as a starter for Man United, we might see an England midfield in the future with Declan Rice, Bellingham, and Kobe Maino. Keep developing. Trust. He's got the trust of Erik ten Hag, so let's trust the process.
Well, yeah. Here's a U19 quick list U19, because we didn't mention Evan Ferguson. And I got him as number 1. Number 2, I've got Alejandro Garnacho for U19 best Premier League players, or ones you want to watch. And 3, I don't even have Kobe Mainu yet, but I think by the end of the season he'll be there. But I got to put Rico Lewis, because any 19-year-old that wins Pep Guardiola's heart wins mine as well. But I got to shout out. He's Italian, but he's also eligible for Canada. He's also eligible for the USA. Luca Koleosho has been literally the only good thing about Burnley's season so far. And at 18, I hope Burnley figures out what's going on, but it's getting deeper and darker in that hole for them.
That's a whole other conversation with Vincent Kompany. Maybe we'll have to get sacked. Innovative football at Burnley, but maybe it's not the right moment to do just that when you come up, just been promoted. But let us know down below your Premier League best players and if you agree with what we're saying. Going with Premier League, I think it makes sense to go with La Liga second. Because, look, we got an English player leading La Liga too. The best player in La Liga, no doubt in my mind, is Jude Bellingham. Number 2, I'll put Antoine Griezmann. And number 3, I'm going to go with another Real Madrid player, Rodrigo Goisch. Unreal form until now. No Vinicius, but Rodrigo has been unreal in the offense of Real Madrid. He's been better than Vinicius and Joselu. Look, he's scoring goals, but he's by no means as good as Rodrigo too. So yes, I'm not putting any Girona player, but shout out to Artem Dovbyk. That is one of the most important players of Girona. But no, for me, the best person in La Liga, Jude Bellingham, Griezmann, and Rodrigo right now. No Barca player, unfortunately.
So not even Ronaldo?
Not even Ronaldo Araújo, unfortunately, no. I think Condé has been better than Ronaldo Araújo this season.
Yeah, well, I mean, Rodrigo, putting Rodrigo there, that's huge. Wow. I mean, he's been insane the last, 5 games?
5 goals, 4 assists.
I know. Good for him. He goes. Rodrigo goes. He gets it done, apparently. All right, my La Liga top 3, there's not much change here. I've got Jude Bellingham, Real Madrid. We've talked extensively about how insane it is that he keeps leveling up.
Bellingham.
I know. Antoine Griezmann, definitely 2 for me. And I got Federico Valverde for Real Madrid in third. Kind of like a sneak submarine type of season so far for him, kind of skating under the surface, but he's been very, very, very good. And the only one, I mean, I get Rodrigo, I guess, but I got to shout out Real Sociedad. In Takefusa Kubo has definitely been one of the most exciting.
Oh yeah,
definitely been one of the most exciting in La Liga. And Alex Garcia for Girona also has been incredibly important to how good that they have been. So they definitely deserve shout-outs. But yeah, Bellingham, Griezmann, Valverde for me.
Bellingham, 16 games, 15 goals, 3 assists. Bellingham is the best player in the world right now, not just La Liga, in my point of view. Griezmann, he's 3 goals away. He's going to be the top goal scorer of Atletico Madrid this season. History is going to happen in La Liga. So, Rodrigo, keep going bold and make this statement right, okay? And Vinicius Jr., he's out with injury, okay, people? But I love, Bretson, that you're mentioning Federico Valverde, that he has been in defense, in attack, and obviously in midfield, where he's supposed to be at all times. But best under 23 players in La Liga until now this season, Bellingham obviously has to start. I would have put in Gavi second, but he's gotten injured. I'll put now Rodrigo second, and I'm going to give a shout-out to Nico Williams at third. He's got 7 assists. He just extended until 2027, and he's got a 50 million release clause. If he goes bold in the Euros, don't be surprised if he gets to move to a European top team. And yes, if I were to have a fourth, it would be Takefusa Kubo. That is...
Nice.
I've watched him play in Stadio da Luz when it was Benfica against Real Sociedad, and every time Kubo touched the ball, it was an attacking threat. Even you had to have 2 players on top of him. Something could happen always. So he would give space or he would make something happen. So Kubo is the real deal, and he's going to a top team next season.
Yeah, but where?
Liverpool will need a winger maybe after Mo Salah. I'm not saying they're gonna get Kubo, but I think the 2 teams that are 100% getting wingers will be Arsenal and Liverpool next season.
Like I could see Kubo doing real well. Actually, I have no clue.
Nico Williams at Liverpool, mate. Nico Williams at Liverpool. The playmaking, the speed, like Klopp with Nico Williams would be, and 50 million would be a bargain for me.
It would, but it's probably going to cost even more than that.
No, it's the release clause.
They just in the new contract?
In the 2027 contract extension, yes.
There's a 50 million. That's
50 million release clause.
50 million.
Exactly. That's it.
I would I'd pay that tomorrow. Yeah. All right. Well, that I did mine. You did under 23. I went under 21 with my list. And the funny thing is guess who's still number 1?
Jude Bellingham.
Jude Bellingham at only 20 years old. Unbelievable. Number 2 for me is Nico Williams because, yes, I'm not going to say he's outshining his brother Inaki at Athletic Bilbao, but he is. He's outshining his brother at Athletic Bilbao. And number 3, I want to put Gavi. I do with him injured.
But we're not counting Gavi because
probably would have had him at 2. Exactly. So number 3 for me, we got to give a little Girona love here. He couldn't get a sniff for PSV last season. Well, he is leading or close to leading La Liga and one of the most exciting prospects in La Liga this season. So number 3 for me is Savio at Girona.
He deserves that recognition. City Group, by getting Girona, they brought in the scouting and the identification of top talents. Savio is just that. And Signakov even too. Ukrainian baller. Artem Dovbyk, Signakov. Like, please pay attention to Girona this season.
Yeah, well, Ukrainians, man. Dovbyk, Sigankov, Zinchenko's playing okay, but Mikolenko for Everton has been phenomenal so far this season. Yes. I love it. I love it. It's good to see.
And the under-19s, you have a La Liga under-19, so we can say to the people.
Yeah, I do. We've got Savio at 1. We've got Lamine Yamal at 2. And third, I mean, I wanted to say Asan Jiao. He's slowed down a little bit for Real Betis. I'm going to say the big striker for Alaves, Samu Amarodion. If you don't know him, look him up. He's scored a few goals as of late. And while he is still very much a work in progress, I think you're going to see that somebody is very much going to want to do that work on that work in progress because he could be a baller for them. I believe he was in Atleti. I don't know if he's on loan at Alaves or if they have now bought him outright. But U19, and he's kind of coming up. Got several goals this season. But the big two are obviously Savio and Yamal.
And I did some digging. Nico Williams has played 96 games for Atletico Bilbao at his age. That's why he starts for Spain. 96 games playing next to his brother, Inaki Williams. He's living the dream.
Amazing.
And we both believe 50 million release clause is a bargain. And let us know down below if you agree with our Premier League and La Liga until now. But now, going with Bundesliga, I'll try to be faster here with the Bundesliga. I'm going to say my best players in the Bundesliga are Harry Kane, number 1. Number 2, Serge Rassi. He's got 15 goals scored, more than 15 goals scored, 2. And I'm going to put number 3, Alejandro Grimaldo. Shout out to the top goal-scoring defender in the world right now. So it's Harry Kane, number 1, Guirassy, number 2, and Grimaldo, number 3. And Guirassy has a release clause of 17 to 20 million in January. Let's see what's going to happen, people. Will he leave Stuttgart? Because that's a bargain.
That is a bargain. And yes, he will leave Stuttgart, is my guess. I just got to say it again for the crowd. They were fighting for relegation last season.
It's true.
With Guirassy in the side, right? Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden, Guirassy is scoring goals, and they are up near the top of the table. Not at the top, but they're up near the top. But it's funny. We haven't talked about Joshua Kimmich this season, and no love for Leroy Sané in that top 3. Huh?
Unfortunately, because I got to give love to Grimaldo. Leverkusen are top of the league, and if I didn't have a Leverkusen player in the top 3 of the best in the Bundesliga, I think that would miss a point.
Yeah, and I'm going to go for the story here. I'm going to go for all the feels. I'm going to say Harry Kane at number 1. I'm going to then say number 2 is Florian Wirtz. I think he has been just so immensely important for Bayer Leverkusen.
It makes sense, too.
Statistically speaking, whatever. But at his age, doing what he's doing for Xabi Alonso and for Bayer Leverkusen and the run that they're on, Florian Wirtz and where he came from, right, in terms of what he had to go through to get to this stage. I love the story. There's a little bit of bias in there in terms of following this Wonderkid up from when he made his debut. Mm-hmm. But Harry Kane, Florian Wirtz, and then I couldn't back off the Serhou Guirassy love because I don't know. I'm going to say it right now. I think he's been phenomenal for him this season, but I also think it might be just kind of a one-off. But we will see.
Mishu vibes at Swansea, that could be the case, but in the Bundesliga right now. You're going bold, but aligning with what you're saying right now. Florian Wirtz and Bukayo Saka are the only 2 players right now in all competitions with more than 10 assists. So he's been instrumental in the playmaking of Xabi Alonso. Without Wirtz, they would 100% not be top of the Bundesliga too. So I kind of agree with where you're coming from. And the best under 23 list of the Bundesliga, I'm going to put Jamal Musiala number 2, Florian Wirtz the best under 23 list of the Bundesliga, I'm going to put Jamal Musiala, the best player. I still think he's got so many intangibles. It's unmatchable. Number 2, Florian Wirtz, very, very important for Bayer Leverkusen. Number 3, Xavi Simons, instrumental for RB Leipzig. And a 4 and 5, I'm going to put Bayer Leverkusen players with Jeremy Frimpong, 40 million release clause, and Victor Boniface. So 3 Bayer Leverkusen players in the top 5 list of under 23.
Wow. I think Boniface has got another Boniface has got another level in him to come. So by the end of the season, I think he's going to be popping up both of these here. But Xavi Simons is 3rd, huh? Mm-hmm. So I went U21 Bundesliga players, top 3. My number 1, because Florian Wirtz made it into the all-around, he's got to be number 1 for me. Number 2, I think, based on how important he's been for RB Leipzig, I got to go with Xavi Simons. Mm-hmm. But I understand your intangibles. I understand Musiala's talent. He's just not always needed for Bayern in order to, say, win. He's not always called upon to do that. So Jamal Musiala, for me, is third with my U21 top 3 in the Bundesliga. And I'm going to call out 2 names that you're definitely going to have to watch out for, especially heading into the end of the season. Faris Shaibi for Frankfurt has been amazing, especially in the last month or two. So I would definitely watch his rise. And then Enzo Milo. It's not just Serhu Girassi. It's Enzo Milo in the midfield for Stuttgart that has, once again, he was part of that relegation battle last season. And Enzo Milo has started to really pep up. And I don't think gets enough credit for how far Stuttgart has risen so far this season. But no mention of Matisse Tell.
No Matisse Tell, unfortunately. It's true. And Enzo Milo, I remember he was in Liga playing, and now seeing him in the Bundesliga, that transition of the new league, it was a good decision by Enzo Milo.
Smart.
But let us know down below if you're agreeing with the Bundesliga choices that we just made. And if we're mentioning all the top leagues, there's the other one with Serie A that... Look, the best players in Serie A is going to get a debate 100% here at FC Wonderkid. The best player... The best players in Serie A, if we're going to do a list, my number 1 is Victor Osimhen. Even though he was injured a lot of the start of the season, I'm going to put second, Rafael Leão, and I'm going to put third, the top goal scorer of Serie A with 13 goals. I know, but third, Lautaro Martinez. Osimhen, Rafael Leão, Lautaro Martinez.
I just can't do it, man. I can't do it. Lautaro is leading Serie A in goals by like double digit. No, he's
when
doubling
Osimhen's
whoever's
back,
second behind.
he's getting him.
I know.
He's getting him.
I know. I know. And yet I think they well, whatever. Anyway, I got to have number 1, Lautaro. So I have to disagree with you. I also can't have Rafa Leão right now on this list just yet. He started the season hot. Haven't seen much of him recently. So, number 1 for me in terms of top players in Serie A right now is Lautaro, the Golden Boot leader, Victor Osimhen, who's going to be chasing his tail, I'm sure, and maybe catching up by the end of the season. And then maybe a often not talked about key cog in the Inter Milan machine right now has got to be Hakan Çalhanoğlu, who has like secretly had a phenomenal season so far. That might be it's a little bit stat watching. It's a little bit stat watching potentially. But he is at the forefront of their Serie A success. So I gotta have him in there, which snubs Kvaratskhelia, it snubs Rafa Leão, it snubs Bastoni. Neither of us have Bastoni on there. He hasn't been that good.
No. True, Bastoni. And I was gonna say that Juve are top of Serie A, but we don't have a Juve player in the top 3. We believe the team and the style of play is helping a lot in that happen. But no doubt,
100%.
Inter have the best team in Serie A with a Bastoni, with a Barella, with a Di Marco, with a Dumfries, with a Lautaro in form, a Çalhanoğlu, and even a Marcus Thuram. That was a bargain. He came for free. How can that happen? Yep. How can they get away with this? Onana, Thuram, they still do it back to back always. So yes, Brenton, I believe that saying a Bastoni, if you were to say to me, Bastoni is in my top 3 best players in Serie A, I would totally accept that statement. It's not
fair enough.
It's not something I believe is
blasphemous.
Incorrect. Stop blasphemous. One of the best left center backs in the world. But let us know, Bretton, who is your top under 21 of Serie A?
Ooh, this guy. Okay, number 1 is Frosinone. He plays for Frosinone.
Right?
He's on loan. Yep, on loan, and definitely he's starting to come into his own, and he's
6
phenomenal.
goals.
Matthias Sule, I think he's leading in dribbles 1. He's got a bunch of goals. He is going to either play a big role he's on loan from Juve, right?
Juve have Kenan Yildiz, Andrea Cambiasu having a much better season. They have Fagioli starting to be more. Miretti, a lot more involved with the first team. He's a baller, Miretti. And let's hope Matthias Sule gets the respect. So Juve have a rebuild happening right there. Vlahovic starting to score some goals. Chiesa more involved.
Yeah.
Just get rid of Allegri.
Which is what we care about. Exactly. Yeah. No. So my Serie A U21 has started out number 1, Matthias Sule, who plays for Frosinone on loan. Lazar Samardzic, Plays
Good
for
player.
Udinese, another one you want to watch. And then I gotta go with Atalanta has put their trust in this center back, so I should too. Giorgio
Scalvini.
Scalvini has been great for them. He probably could be higher, but we got to remember he's 19.
Mm-hmm.
He's 19 years old, so
I watched him
he's top of
yesterday.
the U19 list as well, and absolutely just
Mm-hmm.
way too poised for a kid at 19 years old in the center of defense in Serie A, right? Just incredibly poised.
For me, Scalvini is a starter for the Italian national team in the next 5 to 10 years. But Scalvini, Bastoni, unreal what they have just there, those two. No, I
thought
love
you're-
him. I love him.
I thought you were gonna say by the Euros. I was gonna.
No, by the Euros, it's
we'll
very
see.
bold. It's very bold. But like,
Yeah.
if you see a Bastoni, a Scalvini, a Destiny Udogi, a Donnarumma in 5-10 years time stamp, it's very good. And like Di Marco is
Right.
ascension right now. So yeah, Italy, little by little, they're starting to be a top team. Little by little. But let us know
By
down
little.
below
Baby steps.
your choices of in the Serie A. But going now with Ligue 1, I think here, Ligue 1, I think we're going to agree with the best player, obviously. He's the most well-paid
Probably.
athlete in Europe right now. Kylian Mbappe is the best player
Yeah.
in Ligue 1. I'm going to put number 2, Achraf Hakimi, that is very overlooked by how good Mbappe is. But Hakimi is one of the best fullbacks in the world, okay? And he's one of the best players for Morocco too. And number 3, I'm going to give a shout-out to Todibo. Best defense in the top 5 leagues, Nice, because of Todibo being there next to Dant. So my best players in Liga, I put Kylian Mbappe, Hakimi, and Todibo number 3rd. And who would imagine me saying Todibo now after I saw him at Benfica having a poor spell? And yeah, it's careers are with ups and downs, Bretson. Oh my days.
I thought you were gonna. Yeah, I mean Todibo, Dant. I mean he's been doing it forever, and I thought you were gonna actually put Marcin Bolka in there.
Nah,
But I guess
Golovin
you
was the player
didn't.
that was the player I was really considering, because when I watch
Yeah,
Monaco, he's my favorite player. Golovin.
Yeah. And he was part of that kind of ill-fated massive spend, and where Golovin barely played, and then he came back, and now he's kind of a centerpiece of this Monaco side that's in the top 3, I think. Right?
Mhm.
They're doing just fine.
And Takumi
So yeah,
Minamino
I mean,
too. I think he's got like 4
Yes.
goals, 4 assists too. Instrumental.
Liverpool fans have gotta like that, I guess. But yeah, Kylian Mbappe number 1, League 1 top 3, Kylian Mbappe. Then you've got Achraf Hakimi as well for me, and Alexander Golovin, because Monaco is a fun side to watch. I cannot say the same about Nice. They might be incredibly functional. They might be incredibly efficient in their defense, but they are not exactly a fun team to watch. So I had to go with Golovin and Monaco. Also, because my Fuller and Balogun is the one scoring goals for them, and I need Golovin as happy and as motivated as possible to continue to feed our number 9. Please do.
Okay, that's a bold statement, mate. At under 23 best in Liga, I would put number 1, Todibo. I would put number 2, Manuel Ugarte, one of the best defensive mids in the world right now in terms of form. Look at how he's playing for Uruguay. Incredible with Bielsa. And number 3, it's a shout out, but it's a bold statement. Please watch Lenny Yoro play from Lille. He is the real deal. He is an incredible talent coming from Lille. And yes, you've been warned here at FC Wonderkid. So top 3 with Todibo, Ugarte, and Lenny Yoro.
Well,
Diakite too. I could have said Diakite too. That's playing for Lille. I think he's under 23.
Yeah, Diakite.
Yeah.
Did you not know Zaire Emery for you, huh? Just because he's injured?
No. yes, exactly.
Yeah, that's
No
a shame
Zaire
we're not.
Emery.
Yeah.
No, if he's injured, I don't put him. But yes, completely, Breton. He is the best under 23 player when he's not injured. Warren Zaire Emery.
Yeah, I have him at top of my U21 list because I didn't listen to our rules. Number 2, though, because he's had a stage in the Champions League, Eli Wahi deserves a shout. He's capable of, as we saw with the goal the other day, he's capable with creating some magic from time to time. So Eli Wahi is in there, and I agree with you. You and I did not actually talk about this. But Lenny Yoro working his way into a Lille side as a center back at the age that he is at. He's only 18, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he's 19 yet.
He just turned, I think.
He has, yeah, and he has been absolutely great for them. So I have him as third, and ones that I expected to be on here early on in the season, but just haven't done much. Ryan Cherky, not there. Bradley Barcola has had some time, I guess, waiting for whatever, as many opportunities as he can get for PSG. Desiree Doué from Stade Rennais. Based on how he broke out last season, I had him penciled in for a massive season for Stade Rennais this season, and it hasn't happened just yet. So that U21 list is Zaire Emery, Eli Wahi, and Lenny Yoro for Lyon.
And the best, Lenny Yoro. So we agreed with that. And look,
we did.
The French league has the best talents coming up too, just like the Portuguese, and as we said, the Premier League too. But okay, so Breton, I think with Eredivisie in the Portuguese league, we mentioned the best players, and we can, people, if you want to see another video, let us know if you want to see under 23, under 19s, because yes, in this podcast, we want to mention under 17 World Cups too, just at the end too.
Let's go.
So the best players in the Portuguese league, in my opinion, top 3, I put number 1, Victor Gyökeres, number 2, Diogo Costa, and number 3, João Neves. Number 4, it would be a Di Maria, and number 5, Ricardo Horta. João Neves is the best midfielder in the Portuguese league. Gyökeres is the best player for the importance he's had straight off the bat. Never forget watching that game, the first game of Gyökeres in the Portuguese league with you, Breton, just in the stadium. And yeah, I think it's fucked, this ranking. But let us know if you agree or disagree. Do you agree with me, Breton?
I agree with you, Victor Gyökeres at the top for sure, and it just goes to show you, scouting actually does work. Because if you just went on pure look at where he played previously, you would have passed over somebody that has been perfect for Sporting, right? So yeah, Gyökeres at number 1. I'm going to disagree with you. My number 2 is going to be Frederick Arsnes for Benfica, just in terms of how many roles he plays for them. He has not, correct me if I'm wrong, been able to play his best position.
True.
That much for Benfica this season.
Fact.
Number 3 for me, I got to give some Braga love. I know I'm kind of snubbing João Neves, but I got to give some love to Ricardo Horta, who you did right outside of your top 3. But Braga have been great this season. They've shown fight in the Champions League, and Ricardo Horta has been at the forefront of it. But I know from a stat watching perspective, no Simone Banza for you in terms of the league leader.
No, and Mateus, really good goalkeeper at Braga too. But if we were to do a youngsters, obviously, Rodrigo Gomes maybe that is on loan from Braga to Estoril. He'd be highlighted in my under 23 too. But yes, we got João Neves, Antonio Silva, Diomande. I think those are the top 3 talents in the Portuguese league. And then Rodrigo Gomes would be my worthy shout out to know, because yes,
love it.
He's growing to that position.
Sure.
But mentioning, so Portuguese league, tell us down below if you agree or disagree with our ranking. And Eredivisie, Breton, who's your best players in the Eredivisie?
Ooh, well, you know my number 1.
Santiago Jimenez.
Nope.
No. How is it
Joey
the number
Veerman.
1? Joey Veerman ahead of Santiago Jimenez. You're going
without a doubt. Without a doubt,
2.
Joey Veerman number 1.
He's my 2, Joey
Well,
Veerman.
You take Joey Veerman away from PSV, and they'd have a tough time.
You
right?
take Santiago Jimenez from Feyenoord, they ain't in the Champions League.
Yeah, no, I know. Well, they're not anymore. PSV are still in the Champions League. So I just, Koeman sees it for the Oranje. Joey Veerman will be a starter for the Oranje for years to come. He's still young. I think he's 25, 26. 25. And without a doubt, I mean, he does everything for them. And I might be talking him up too much, but I have shown my Joey Veerman card, my love for him over the past 3 months or so. And even previous to this, like last year at this time, he was an incredibly unknown entity. PSV's scouting plucked him out of nowhere. And he is quickly becoming one of my favorite players to at least watch. Santiago Jimenez, obviously, historic start to the season. Amazing. Number 2 for me. Number 3 for me is David Hanko, still for Feyenoord. I don't understand how he is still in the Feyenoord defense, but I do pick David Hanko right now over Johan Bakayoko.
And
just
over
because I think and over Pavlidis, because how has he not left yet? Right? And Hanko, I think you could take him, you could put him into a bigger side, and he would make that side much, much better. Whereas I feel like if you take like a Johan Bakayoko, who's been amazing for PSV, there's still some development that needs to happen there. Right? It's kind of a it's a Noni Madueke type of a situation there, where you can't just pluck a insanely entertaining attacker out of the Eredivisie, put him into the Premier League, and say, have at it, son. So I'm going with defense. I'm going with David Hanko.
I'd maybe put ahead of David Hanko in terms of importance, obviously, Santiago Jimenez and Quinten Timber. He's been very important for Feyenoord too, and maybe a Mats Wiefer, and maybe a Calvin Stengs, and maybe a Gertrude, and maybe a Hartman, because the defense of Feyenoord is very good. So, but I agree, Hanku for his national team too, very important, and he is underrated. He is in the underrated talk. But let us know down below, do you agree? Do you disagree? Do you want to see more under 23 rankings? Do you want to see more rankings just like this? Let us know down below if you enjoyed this topic in the FC Wonderkid podcast. And now, Brasileirão. Who do you think's going to win the Brasileirão, Breton? Because Botafogo for sure ain't winning it. Botafogo had one of the best starts ever in Brasileirão. They won 15 games out of their first 19 league games. 14 points ahead of the second place, and they still bottle it. Why did they bottle it? Because of Cristiano Ronaldo wanting their coach, Luis Castro, at Al Nassr. That's why they lost the league. It's all Ronaldo's fault.
No, I'm just kidding.
It really is.
But come on, it really is. And they sat atop the league for 31 match weeks. They're winless in their last 9. Dude, they have figured out a way to lose matches that are almost impossible, right? From a predictive sense, to lose. Yep. They were up 3-0 on Palmeiras, lost 4-3.
Yep.
They were up 3-1 on Grêmio. They lost that game. They've conceded multiple late goals. They are broken, and yet still they have a chance if somehow they can muster some fairy tale whatever. But that is not who I'm picking. Obviously, Palmeiras has 3 points ahead. They are the de facto. It's their thing to lose, right? What's insane to me is that Endrick at 17 has been such a leading reason to why Palmeiras has actually taken over, because the beginning of the season was not that great for Palmeiras.
Very well
but
said.
Endrick is now on 10 goals not amongst the league's leaders, but 10 goals scored, right? They've got 7 wins in their last 9. I just don't see them mucking it up, but I do have to say, Atlético Mineiro,
they're
hot, man.
Great players.
They are
and
hot.
Great reference. They beat Flamengo. They facilitated our decision making towards saying Palmeiras is going to win the Brasileirão. Why does Palmeiras win the Brasileirão? They have the best manager in Brasileirão with Abel Ferreira. He's won 2 Copa Libertadores, and he's going to win 2 Brasileirões with this win. They got the best player in the Brasileirão with Rafael Veiga, in my view. They've got the best center back in the Brasileirão with Gustavo Gomes. Unreal experience he's had in the league. And they've got the best talent. Hendrick with 10 goals scored in 2023. I think Palmeiras deserve it. And Botafogo, bottle it. Yep. And I'm worried of who's going to be the next manager of Palmeiras. Pedro Caixinha, a lot of people are referring to him, the manager of Red Bull Bragantino, that don't sleep on Bragantino getting top 6. Bragantino is going to start being a team to win Brasileirão in the next 5 years. The most competitive league in the world. Lucas Evangelista, what a midfielder at Bragantino. What a midfielder.
Yeah, the only issue is they're doing kind of a mini Botafogo right now. Are they not? I mean, they've lost 4 of their 4 of their last 5. No, but I think the heroes right now. I don't see Palmeiras bottling it. Okay, I don't see that happening. So I do think Palmeiras will win this. They'll be back-to-back Brasileirão winners. But Atletico Mineiro, and even Botafogo, they have 2 goalkeepers that I think teams, maybe more Lucas Perry, right?
Perry's
Botafogo would be in much worse state if it weren't for Lucas Perry this season. And I'm looking at his profile, watching quite a lot of video on him. The dude's massive. He's 6'5", hell of a shot stopper. I'd be really surprised if some La Liga team or Serie A team doesn't come in to try and sign this guy after this particular season. At least pluck the one guy keeping them afloat after that massive. I don't even know what you call it. It's of epic proportions.
I've never seen anything like that, Breton. I've never seen, in all my years watching football, I've never seen such a big bottle job. Botafogo.
If it was made a movie, I don't think people would go to see it because it would be too depressing.
People would be crying. Like, what?
I don't understand how this happened.
Ronaldo? Why did you? My days, man. But Flamengo, we're not mentioning Flamengo in all this. And Flamengo has a new manager that changed a lot of how things are. Tite is a great manager, and Flamengo will be attacking the Brasileirão next season against Palmeiras that could be without Abel Ferreira as it stands. But Pedro will be staying at Flamengo, and he's got 34 goals scored this season in all competitions for Flamengo, and he should be the starter ahead of Gabigol. Tite is going to trust Pedro a lot more, and Filipe Luís is going to retire. One of the best left backs I've seen in Brasileirão play. Super intelligent with Jorge Jesus. Super intelligent.
It was so out of form. I mean, since Tite came in, they've been phenomenal. They had 4 clean sheets in their last 5. They had a 5-game unbeaten streak going, and then, boom, Atletico Mineiro shows up. Hulk shows up. Scolari shows up. They don't just beat him. They beat him. They beat him hard, right? 3-0, and it basically ended their momentum, I think, unless they can bounce back. And a lot of that, I wanted to just shout out that one other goalkeeper. Everson is the goalkeeper for Atletico Mineiro this season, 33 years old. You got Hulk at 37 with 42 goal involvements in 57 games throughout the whole entire season for Atletico Mineiro. Paulinho doing crazy things. So I know I'm once again stealing the thunder from Flamengo and Tite, but I think it's Palmeiras and Atletico Mineiro finishes a close second, although everything in this case is going to be close. I mean, this is one of the most exciting races on the planet, and probably will be for all of 2023.
What
Pretty
makes
impressive.
Brasileirão so excited is the Brasileirão is the most competitive league in the world because you got Grêmio, Flamengo, Palmeiras. You got many teams that are at the same level. But if Benfica, Sporting, and Porto were in Brasileirão, in a 10-year span of time, they would be winning the majority of Brasileirão titles. Imagine Ruben Amorim, Sérgio Conceição, or even a Roger Schmidt in Brasileirão. Immediately, they would be one of the best managers in the league. I'm no doubt with Sérgio Conceição and Ruben Amorim that I consider better than Abel Ferreira. Yes, the man who won 2 Copa Libertadores for Palmeiras. He's better, Ruben Amorim and Sérgio Conceição. All 3 are elite, and all 3 are Portuguese too.
Wow. Well, sir, it's going to be an absolute race for that win, but we do have a winner in the U17 World Cup. Do you want to know about it?
And I warned in this case in 2 podcasts previously ago. Germany won the Under-17 World Cup. Completely deserved. And the star of the show, yes, Noah Darvish was important, but the star of the show was Paris Brunner, one of the best left-wing under-17 players in the world, and he's introduced himself in this competition. Am I right, Breton?
Yeah, you're right. I still love. I rate Noah Darvish a whole lot higher than Brunner, but he's definitely taken a step forward. But what a tournament! I love the U17 World Cup. You always have to take it with a grain of salt just because they're so young, right? And just because they're great and talented now, it doesn't mean that they get developed properly wherever they are. Case in point, say Nigeria or the Mexican teams that have been phenomenal here. Mali is somebody that you can look at this season and say, some of these names you'll never see again. But my, oh my, are they a canvas just like waiting to get properly painted and developed. And it's all about that next step with the U17 World Cup. And if I could, with my U17 World Cup 11 to watch, Alex, if I could put the whole Malian team, I probably would. Because they were just such a joy to watch.
At least 3 players you got to put, Breton. Just saying, okay? Because I did. I did put 3 players. And going with what you said, Mali beat Argentina 3-0. Argentina beat Brazil 3-0 with a hat-trick of Echeverri. That happened. Will Win wasn't present. Ibrahima Diarra was always present for Mali. So that is one of the golden boys of the competition. But Echeverri, Will Win and Ibrahim Diarra, they're all top players. But going with what you said, the best 11 of the Under-17 World Cup, I'm going to go in goal with Paul Arni, that until the final he only had 1 goal suffered. I'm going to go at right back, Eric da Silva Moreira. Center backs, Vitor Nunes and Kai Sanda. I don't want to butcher this name. Then my left back has Aymin Sadi. Great left back. One of the best I've seen in a Under-17 World Cup. And then my midfield, I go with Amadou Makolu. With Sekou Kone in midfield, the Malian midfield, formidable. And then my front three with, in front of the midfield with Paris Brunner, Echeverri, and Ibrahim Diarra. And I have in front Agustin Roberto. This World Cup, this Under-17 World Cup was the introduction of Echeverri and Agustin Roberto to River Plate ballers, okay? The stat line, 8 goals, 1 assist from Agustin Roberto, and Echeverri having a hat-trick against Brazil. Please pay attention to these players of River Plate. Unreal.
Yeah.
I butchered a lot of names.
You probably did. I mean, who's going to come out with a football name pronunciation guide, right? Who's going to do that?
Only
just
a
a list where you can click it, and you can hear it in different dialects. I mean, come on, somebody, please. Maybe we should. Listen, I don't even need to give you this 11. I have more of an 11 to watch. I think the only other additions that I'd throw in there, Hector Fort for Spain. We talked about him previously. Absolutely love him at right back. Really excited to see his development. For France, Miupje, I don't know if I'm saying that correctly. It sounds like I've got something peanut butter in my mouth or something. But he was great for France. Sorry to see him fall short when all is said and done. But you already hit on the majors here, right? Echeverri and Roberto and Diarra. But I have to say, Noah Darvish, Paris Brunner, Germany, great. France, you had quite a few people, but it was more of a squad, right? Type of a scenario. I think a Golden Ball winner, although it probably won't be, needs to come from Mali, right?
Ibrahim
needs
Diarra.
to come from Mali.
It has to be.
It would either be from a statistical standpoint, from a straight like
Captain.
At you. Captain, Ibrahim Diarra, he's off to Barcelona is what we're hearing. All this great stuff. It matches it, but my favorite player at this tournament, he's like the Malian N'Golo Kante or something. He's not that big. He's slight. It is Makalu. Watching Makalu has been a joy. Okay, Sekou Kone next to him has been phenomenal too, but Makalu has been my favorite player of this tournament.
My favorite has been Echeverri. My favorite to watch, El Diablito.
I was going to say next to Echeverri.
In terms of attacking midfielders, Darvish and Echeverri are 2 players that I'm really excited to see their development. Echeverri has a 25 million release clause. Who's going to get him? That's a bargain for the talent.
It is a bargain.
And we've seen Nicopas score for Real Madrid. Who knows?
Yeah. Nice goal, too. I know bad goalkeeping, but nice goal, too. But listen, Mali, hands down, top team of the tournament in terms of just impressive prospects all around. Between Makalu, Ibrahim Diarra, who, yes, I agree, Ibrahim Diarra should likely win the Golden Ball if they don't insist on giving it to somebody from Germany. then it'll probably be Noah Darvish.
Paris Boone or
but
Brenton? We have a disagreement with those two.
Darvish, baby. I think it's Darvish. Mahmoud Bari, Mamadou Doumbia, who started out with a hat trick and then obviously got that red card, so was out. Sekou Kone. I mean, League One squads, right? I'm saying that because Mali is from the French diaspora, right? League One squads should be snapping up every one of these players, left and right, and giving them a platform, a place to perform. League Two, too. I mean, Liga Two. Sorry. Le Havre. I mean, these are great places they should wind up.
So many players from Valenciennes.
Exactly.
I was shook. Ismail Noob, I think the center back too, captain. I was like, what? Valenciennes, you got a great academy. It's underrated.
It really is, but it goes to show you in this this tournament, and why you have to take it with a grain of salt is a lot of these players we'll never talk about again.
It's true.
Which is sad to think about.
But believe
every once in a while, you get past winners of the Golden Ball or past winners of the Golden Boot that go on to do absolutely special things. Previous to like the last 7 or so tournaments, it hit at a better rate. But since, I mean, past winners of the Golden Ball include Cesc Fabregas, Toni Kroos, who else? Phil Foden, more recently. But only Phil Foden has gone on to become extra special in the last 6 tournaments. The other 5, I'm not even going to name them for you, but you wouldn't necessarily know their name or consider them anything.
But you have a top goal scorer with Osimhen. You got Osimhen a couple of years back. He was the top goal scorer in the Under-17 World Cup.
One of the last 7 that you'll remember from the Golden Boot. One of the last 7. So it's only hit. We're talking about pretty bad batting average, pretty bad free throw percentage, pretty bad shot conversion ratio.
Oh, the American.
It just goes to show you that the U17 World Cup are the most talented players at this moment in time.
Yes.
And that 2 years from now, 3 years from now, we're going to be talking about different players. But if I got to put money on somebody, man, Echeverry, Makalu, Diarra's going to be huge.
If I had to put money in an Under-17 World Cup player that was wow for me, was Ibrahima Diarra, I would put for Echeverry. I think William Estevão, for the short period of time he was there, he showed a lot of brilliance. And Paris Brunner. Sure. It's all about his mentality. If he has the right mentality for first team, dribbling-wise, one-on-one, he's a demon. Noah Darvish, Agustin Roberto. I think the offense talent, a lot of players are going to shine. And Eric da Silva Moreira for Germany.
You like him?
I love this player. Great right back. But let us know down below, who have we missed? Joel Endala, the top dribbler of the tournament. The Man City graduate. Best England player too. But let us know.
I'm wearing a Charlotte FC jersey because I forgot to mention the one U.S. guy you got to watch out for. That's Nfasha Bershimas. Hopefully he's starting to play in MLS next season. But obviously scored a few goals. And Tyler Hall, center back for Inter Miami, is something you're going to want to watch as well. But yeah, it's over and on to the next one, right?
On to the next one. The next one will be a big World Cup in 2026, Preston, in which it's the seniors. But let us know down below, who have we snubbed? Who would be in your best 11 of the Under-17 World Cup? And yes, if you're listening until now to episode 134, thank you for going bold another week with us.